Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
And away we go. That's a new thing I'm working on. When you always love that list, just leave questions.
I don't
walk right into that.
There are some. I'm not saying this is a good movie.
Oh, what?
That is finished Willem Dafoe. He looks just like Willem Dafoe.
I thought he looked very familiar.
Don't throw out a fact.
You are correct.
Butler, you should do some facts sometimes. Do some facts sometimes. Butler, don't take my
I'm pretty confident your brother doesn't listen to the Forgotten Cinema podcast, but if he does, boo.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this podcast. So,
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to go right. Okay, fine. Welcome to the second episode of the new year, because the last one was technically the first.
True.
So, right. So we're doing something, we're doing a movie that Mike's never seen before, that I have seen, right?
Yes.
We are doing the 2016 movie Sing Street. Real quickly, Sing Street was released on Friday, May 13th, 2016. Now, technically, it was released April 15th, but that was like only 25 screens. So I went through Box Office Mojo, which is now, I guess, part of IMDb Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 13th of May, that's when it was at its most screens, which is 525 screens. So I took that as it's wide open.
Okay.
Because it's not really fair to judge even though 525 screens is not a lot, it's not really fair to kind of judge that movie when it's only on 25 screens based upon like whatever big that weekend.
I was wondering about that because I saw the domestic weekend gross was 63,000 for the April 15th, and I was like, it doesn't seem right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, and on that, not to skip ahead, but on the 15th of April, it's opening up against The Jungle Book, Barbershop, The Next Cut, and Criminal. I mean, it's not really, because it's only on, like I said, 25 screens.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an indie. Production budget was $4 million. Is a runtime of 106 minutes. It's rated PG-13. So its opening weekend, like you said, it was 35,000 for that April date.
Mm-hmm.
For the May date, it's at that opening weekend was 620,000. Domestic here made 3.2 million, worldwide 13.6. It is technically a foreign film because it takes place in Ireland. It's an Irish film. It's produced by the Irish Film Board, I believe.
Yes.
They were one of the producers.
Yep.
So it's technically a foreign film. So when I say domestic, I mean that's us, but it's not technically, that's not its domestic. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So that weekend on the 13th of May, you had Money Monster and The Darkness. Money Monster was the George Clooney, Julia Roberts movie where the guy comes into he's like the CNN, C-SPAN.
Yeah. Yeah. It was okay.
Yeah. Actually, you didn't like it?
It was okay.
Right. I don't remember The Darkness. It's a horror movie. Something about a family in the Grand Canyon. I remember the poster.
I don't remember.
On the week after, the 20th of May, you had the Angry Birds movie, The Nice Guys, which we're doing in probably a couple months, right?
Yep.
And Neighbors 2. And then the week before this, May 6th, you had Captain America Civil War, or as I like to call it, Avengers 2.5. But I mean, it's unfair to say that that's Sing Street's competition, because that's technically not. We're in the beginning of May, which is the start of the summer season.
Right.
And that's not really Sing Street. So I even though these are other movies released at the same time, I don't really consider those movies
competition.
Right. Because they're not taking from a group of people that are going to see this movie regardless. Like there's not somebody going into theater going Sing Street or Captain America Civil War. They're going to see Captain America Civil War if they're there for that.
Absolutely.
That's no knock on Sing Street, because I actually like this movie quite a bit. Directed by John Carney and written by John Carney. He is from Once, Begin Again, and he's actually doing the new Prime series, Modern Love, starring Tina Fey and a bunch of other people. which I didn't know that. So now I kind of want to watch that because I saw the ad for that. I was like, eh. And I was like, oh, wait, he's doing it? Okay, maybe I'll go.
I haven't seen anything for that yet. I know she was doing a new show, but I didn't really see anything about it.
Once and Begin Again, I really like, and I've been trying desperately for my wife to see them, but she will not see them.
Once is very good. I've never seen Begin Again.
I really like Begin Again. Music by Gary Clark. Now, when I say he wrote some of the songs, he actually wrote the Go Now and Don't Go Now. No, I take it back. I'm sorry. Those weren't his songs, but those were written actually by Glenn Hansard, who wrote the song for Once.
Once, yes. But
anyways, sorry. But Gary Clark he's done songs for like other movies like Never Been Kissed, Charlie's Angels. So he's done other music before, and he wrote a lot of the songs. I think he wrote the song, the final song he sings at the prom.
Okay.
Not the final song, but the song.
Slow song?
No. The song that he imagines in his mind.
Oh, the 1950s song. Okay.
Right. Cinematography by Yaron Orbach, who did the cinematography for Begin Again, and actually he is the cinematographer for the new Doctor Strange movie.
Doctor Strange and the Madness of the Multiverse.
Yeah. Producers, I have one producer now because Carney was a producer, but I also have a producer, Anthony Bregman, and he had done Foxcatcher, Schenectady, New York, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. All three movies that I like them.
Those are yeah. I'm kind of indie-ish movies as well.
Yes, indeed. I'll go through the cast real quick. Connor, who's our lead, played by I'm going to screw this name up. Ferdia Walsh-Pilo.
That's how I'd say it.
He is of Vikings fame. I don't watch the TV show Vikings. Do you? Or you've seen it?
I want to, but I have not seen it.
Yeah, I know it's on. It's got like 5 or 6 seasons, right?
6 seasons. I think it's got one more season coming up, and then they have an offshoot show coming out next year as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Raphina, played by Lucy Boynton. She was in Bohemian Rhapsody more recently. Murder on the Orient Express, the remake. An Apostle, not the remake, but I guess technically Murder on the Orient Express is a remake. Penny was played by Maria Doyle Kennedy. For you Orphan Black fans out there, she was in that. She's also in The Tudors. She played Catherine of Aragon in The Tudors, and she was in The Commitments, which is kind of a similar movie to Sing Street in terms of it's Irish and their songs. Brendan's played by Jack Rayner from Midsummer, more recently Free Fire, and he has the distinction of being the guy in the Transformers movie that comes off real creepy when he's the one that he's her boyfriend, and Mark Wahlberg, who's her father, is like, you're too old for them. He's like, not Texas law, and he pulls out that card that says that he's like the law between how old you have to be to date a 16-year-old if you've been dating before. Like, it's a real weird law. Do you remember that scene? No. Really? You don't remember that?
Was that the first Mark Wahlberg one or the second?
It's the first one. So it's the fourth one, technically. It was real specific. Like, they put it in there to like, just like people wouldn't complain about, he's way older than his teenage daughter. It was really bad. But I actually like Jack Rayner a lot in this movie.
Yes, he's really good in this.
Robert, played by Aidan Gillen, who I probably screwed his last name up.
No, that's it.
He played Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, and I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but his arc does have a satisfying ending. He was also in Maze Runner. Eamon, played by Mark McKenna. He's more recently in Overlord, and Barry, who's the bully, played by Ian Kenny. He was in Solo. I don't know what part in Solo, but he was in Solo. He's also in the upcoming Gretel and Hansel, and he's in the Dublin Murders, which is on Stars, which I read that book, so that's why I put it in there, because I want to watch that. And now I have the distinction of breaking down what Sing Street's synopsis is about, and then we can get into it. So with the recession hitting the people hard in Dublin during the 1980s, Connor is moved from his private school to a tough inner city alternative, which is Sing Street of the Christian Brothers. I think that's what it's called. As he tries to adjust to a new way of life, he decides to start his own band. But this is after he decides to start his own band after he sees Raphina across the street, a girl. So he starts his own band for a girl, as his brother tells him. Brendan tells him, obviously it's for a girl. What's her name? When he says I'm starting a band, he's like, what's her name? So I had not seen this movie since I saw it in the theaters, I think. So this was the second time I watched it, probably.
Okay.
And I liked it just the same. I liked it back then. I like it now. I'm interested to hear your take on it. So why don't you just kind of hit me with something?
Hit you with something?
Yeah.
I thought it was very well done, and I like how the movie doesn't play as overly dramatic nor overly touchy-feely. Most of the time I kind of liked that. The music was never a way to, it was about music, but it was about music. It was Raphina and Connor's relationship never took away from the fact that first and foremost it's about kind of the creative process, I would say, and making something and creating something. And I like how that really took up, maybe not more, but just as much as the romance between the two characters, which I thought made the movie interesting and stand on its own as just another kind of romantic teen comedy or dramedy.
Well, now, you don't think that it's also more about, his relationship with his brother in terms of, I mean, that's, I know it deals with family, but it mainly deals with, because his family in this movie is breaking up.
Right.
And they can't be divorced because it's not in the 80s, or this takes place in 1985. And back then it was illegal to get divorced in Ireland until 1997. So they could only get legally separated. So, but that's where they were headed, because that's towards the end of the movie.
Right.
But you don't think that this movie deals with his relationship with his brother?
I think it does. And I think that's a big part of the movie, but I don't see when the end comes up and the movie is dedicated to brothers everywhere. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And while that's a decent chunk of the movie, I didn't feel like that kind of took a backstreet to both Raphina and the idea of the creative process. Although the brother was big on inspiring and helping his brother get there. But it definitely has a great brother relationship in the.
Right. Well, I think the for brothers, I think it's twofold. I read a couple things and it could be twofold. It's about his relationship with his older brother or just brothers in general, but it also could be about the brothers of the Christian school, kind of like at the end when
brothers,
right, right, like when he tells him, he's like, Mozart wore makeup, he's like, what am I, a Salieri?
Who?
Head down to the toilet and remove the makeup right now.
Why?
Because I told you to.
But I'm in a band. It's a school band, and I think it's important that we have a look.
You're a man. Men don't wear makeup.
But why not? People in the 18th century wore makeup. That means people like Mozart wore makeup, and he was a man.
So you're Mozart now, right? That makes me Salieri, is it?
Who's Salieri?
Yeah. So I think it could be. I read that it could be of both of those.
Okay.
But I will say that one of the things that, and I'm not breaking any new ground here when I say this, when I talk about the brother angle with Brendan and Connor.
Yes.
The idea that when you're an older brother and he talks about it, he says, I was there macheteing the way so you could have it nice and easy.
You were in my jet stream. Yeah.
Right. I had to sit there for 6 years in the middle of two people that did not love each other, that had a kid. And I had to sit through that so that you could have it nice and easy and you don't have to worry about what I had to deal with. Like that's really, really, like, I don't want to say a deep moment, but that's a huge thing that a lot of people don't understand about older siblings. Like they are the first. They deal with, the anxiety of a new parent. They have to deal with that kind of like every little thing. Like, oh my God, is he hurt? What's wrong? They have to deal with that. That affects an older child. And the fact that, he's in a family that these two people don't like each other.
Right.
He has, he probably, his childhood was probably not very, as he said, not very easy.
Yes.
I was alone with them for 6 years. You think they're crazy now? Think about what they were like when they were in their late 20s. Two Catholics in a rented flat with a screaming baby who just got married because they wanted to have sex. They didn't even love each other. I was in the middle of that alone. And then you came along, thank God. And you followed the path that I cut for us, untouched. You just moved in my jet stream.
And I think that Connor, in a way, I mean, I know it's probably only 6 months, right? It's a school year.
The whole school, it's a half a school year because they complete their midterms and then.
Because he just leaves. Yeah.
He leaves. He runs away. Yeah.
So it's almost like he witnesses, or no, I'm sorry. His perspective of his brother changes in terms of, Brendan, my older brother, he's the one that helps me. He's my mentor. He's, giving him albums to listen to this. You want to do this. And
yeah, right.
And he gives him all that information. He gives it all that, like, kind of like, not the lectures, but teaching moments.
Yes.
But at some point, Connor's perspective of his own brother shifts in terms of like, oh wait, he's somebody who was just like me. He's somebody who wanted to write music. He's somebody who had dreams and aspirations. I never, realized none of this is said in the film, but it's almost like there's this perspective shift of his own brother, even though Connor at the end of the movie is going off to chase his dream.
Right. Although it happens a little late in the movie. That happened a little late in the movie for me because it's like, okay, it's over. Now you get this sudden shift with your brother no longer being your mentor, but the movie's already pretty much over. I thought that came maybe a little too late for me.
Sure.
In terms of I had dreams, I wanted to be this, and that whole thing could have come midway.
What's the last movie we did? Because I can't remember. What did we do last week? Yeah, you're blanking too. We're old.
We do a lot of movies.
So, we've had this discussion before, and I think it was last week, where in a movie you end up there's two plots that develop.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like two separate Strange Days.
Right. How did I forget that?
Jeez. So in that movie, in Strange Days, you had two. Remember, we had the two plots that developed where Ray Fiennes' character Lenny.
You had Lenny going after
stop
Faith,
solving his mystery, and then you had Mace, who was dealing with the corrupt cops, and it kind of at some point during that movie it schismed into two different big plots.
Yes,
they were competing for each other. It's almost like in this movie where you have, like, I was equally interested in his
relationship with his brother, and even his family to some extent, his mother definitely, and the kind of like brewing romance with him and Raphina, just kind of like, or him finding himself with Raphina in terms of like them finding their true path or their happiness. Like, so at there's two plots that subplot becomes such an intriguing main plot that you're like, oh, wait a minute, which one do I want to root for? Which one do I want to see more closure in? Right. I agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah. And they wrap it up together because his brother drives him, which I think is an awesome moment when he's just like, we're leaving. And he's like, it's a great idea. I'm driving. Like,
oh yeah.
I thought that was a great moment.
We're going to sail to England, the two of us. We're all set. We just need a lift to the harbour.
Yeah, sure. When are you thinking of going? Now? Do you know anybody in England?
No.
Do any Sterling?
No. No?
No.
She has her photographs. I have my demo tapes and videos.
Let's go. Get the keys.
There's a lot of little moments aside from the musical numbers, which I liked all the music in this.
The music is really good, yeah.
Right. And they kind of like delve into music video kind of like look when they perform them, each of these songs. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the brother. The brother aspect was very interesting. I just feel like the turn at the end where he gets upset with his brother could have happened about midway, and that would have created a nice character arc where he no longer has this mentor to help him with his music, and like he's got to maybe develop on his own.
Right.
Whereas this happens at the end, he's already pretty much developed and he's quite a songwriter with him and Eamon as well, which was also a really good relationship. I really liked the scenes between him and Eamon as they collaborated on how to make music. Because a lot of times if you see like Bohemian Rhapsody or, the Elton John movie is like a solo. I'm just thinking something newer.
Sure.
Whenever you see like a musical like that, it's Once does a good job of that too, where it's like one person usually creates the music and the other person creates the lyrics or the song or the feel. What's the emotion of the music?
Yeah.
And I really liked that kind of collaboration they had in the scenes that they had together.
Will you help me write a song?
Always.
I gotta find her who I'm meant to be. Don't believe in destiny.
Why doesn't she believe in destiny?
Well, she was always going on about London. It was so important to her, almost like part of her identity. But maybe it was just in her head.
Well, the main difference in Once and between Once and Sing Street is not the reluctance of I can't remember her name in the movie, but the female lead.
Mm-hmm.
Like she has a personal life that is pulling her away from that music.
Right.
And in this one, it's just like, want to make music? Yeah, let's go. Like they're just all in.
Yeah.
Which is great because that's what kids are. They're like, we're going to do this. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
So in Once you had I can't, I have to take care of my children, with my take care of my husband, all that stuff.
Yeah.
She has kids in the movie, right?
I've
seen it once forever.
It's only been the while. I only saw it once.
My point is basically, zing. We'll be here all night. Yeah. So in Once she had that kind of like pulling away from the music.
Right. And this is all about the music. Everyone's all into the music,
right.
Which makes for kind of a happier story. I mean, at no point, even though, his relationship with his parents is falling apart and toward the end, his brother, And
That
Raphina
gets back
always is
together,
like
though.
back and forth. I never got it. It was a very uplifting, positive movie. It was never like he went to the new school, he got beat up once by the bully, and then after that, it was like it wasn't about that kind of negative space. It was about the good things about growing up.
Right. Well, I think he says it. He says, I in the movie, Connor says,
When
I
he
choose
stands
to
up
be
to
right. You
bully.
You don't create anything. You just destroy everything, and then he basically says, there's nothing you can do to me. He doesn't. He's so super confident. Like,
right.
It's not out of nowhere. He just eventually says, screw it. This is what I want to do. And I love the fact that every time they start listening to new albums, it
He's got the
influences
new
the band.
It's
Like they all just start dressing. They eventually all start dressing like him, and they all just follow his way.
yeah.
And I think that's great. And that you brought up Barry the bully.
Barry the bully.
When I remember first watching it, I just remember, the bully, blah, blah, blah. But like, I felt really bad for him in this movie. Like, to the point where I really liked what they did with Barry. He had a small arc, but
he did. Yeah.
but he became like kind of like one of them
Mhm.
almost. And I thought that was really cool. Like, especially when he's like, when the father's like, oh, you're making a music video. I can't even do the accent. You're making a music video.
It's like Italian. What are you doing?
I stopped.
You kept.
I stopped the accent, Butler. So anyway, so when he sees, oh, you guys making a movie, and he's like, oh yeah, and then Barry he's like, oh, you should do that. Oh, and he makes it funny, just slaps him across the face. I'm like, oh, Barry, God, oof. And then when they go and basically make him that offer,
He's like, get me a beer.
yeah, he's like, see, I'm worthless. My parents say I'm worthless.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was, I liked what they did with Barry to the point where I know he was the bully, and you almost are engineered with all the movies and books that you read and TV shows that you're engineered to hate the bully.
Right.
Because the bully, he or she, in whatever movie you're watching or whatever book you're reading, they're supposed to be the antagonist to your protagonist. But in this, it's not. It's almost like Connor's confidence and Connor's spirit wins out and can defeat that.
Right.
I like that. I like that it wasn't a usual trope with the bully. I like that they kind of like brought some kind of arc to it and some kind of finish to it.
Agreed.
Now, granted, if Connor's leaving on a boat to England, crossing the channel, which, he could be dead.
We don't know if he survives the trip.
Because that's not exactly easy. He does, who knows if Barry goes back to that, but you'd like to think no. You'd like to think that everything works out.
Listen, he gets a record deal. He comes back. He brings everybody on. Even the little kid is his producer.
Also, Barry's a master test taker. When he's just like, the test, he just throws it out.
Suck my dick. He throws it in the thing. That's about when I knew that maybe Barry was going to end up kind of with the band, is because all the bandmates were like shrugging, didn't know. And then they also show Barry, who was also like kind of like one of them. And I was like, all right, something's going to happen with Barry.
Yeah.
But I do like when he finally throws when he throws the bully off. This is for all the kids, students, teachers, and bullies. And the bullies stand up and he just throws them off the stage. And he goes,
Yeah, and he points to him like he's like, yeah, all right. Like he was so proud to push him off.
Yep. So I really liked the music video parts as well.
Okay.
And I really liked how, they had their hand-drawn storyboards and like, and we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to get a shot of this. It really brought me back to when I was younger and I tried to make all my little tiny movies and stuff like that as a kid. And like having your friends there dressed up all ridiculous, about to shoot a scene in the middle of public.
Yep.
Just like, no, we're doing this. If people see us, they see us. Let's just go.
Yep.
And I really enjoyed most of that. And like at the end, when they're like, or in one of the music videos where she's supposed to jump into the water and then it looks stupid jumping out of the thing, but she just jumps into the water. Remember some of the stupid stuff I did to get the scenes I wanted when I was a kid shooting stuff.
Sometimes you got to do that.
Exactly. But I really enjoyed those moments. Those moments were really kind of like, the movie takes place before I was born. So not a lot of that was like nostalgia, but that part was like, that brought me back to childhood, because I think that's something a lot of creative types can kind of,
Oh yeah.
What's the word I'm thinking? Connect to.
Yes. Well, I don't know if I ever told you this, we shot, was it The Usher? You've never seen The Usher, and you probably will never see The Usher. So when we shot this really bad movie, we shot it late at night at the theater that we were working at. One of the scenes was he was one of the kids playing character was supposed to fall down the stairs, and these were basically cement stairs, but they were covered in rubber, like in the hard rubber. So it was not nice. It did not feel good. And I was like, listen, just go down a couple steps. Don't worry about it. And this kid went down the whole steps. And like we were shooting it, and he was just like, boom, boom, boom. We're like, oh my God, are you? He's like, I'm good. I'm like, oh my God. Like and I'm like, did you slip? He's like, no, man. I went for it. I'm like, oh God, it's a great shot. But I was like, oh, I was so worried. I won't mention his name, but I always respected that. But yeah, no. There were some great lines in this movie. I know I brought up a couple. One of my favorite lines is when he's talking to his brother about the other guy who picked up Raphina.
Oh, I think I have the same note.
He picked them up and he was like blasting music. What was he listening to? Genesis. He will not be a problem.
No woman can truly love a man who listens to Phil Collins. Don't play word games, Anne. I don't do words. Like his brother has a lot of really great lines.
Yeah. I also love the line when Connor's telling Eamon and I can't remember the little kids and the kids who's the manager. He's telling that we should play at the prom, at the dance. And Eamon's like, oh, I got to study for midterms. My mom wants me to go do proper, get a proper degree, all that stuff.
Yep.
And he's like, and then Eamon's like, will there be girls there? Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. Eamon's got a lot of good lines too. What are you doing? Just rabbit stuff.
Yeah, he's just got a ton of rabbits.
What's the story with you and rabbits? I just love them. What are you doing? Just feeding my new bunny.
The other line that I liked was when they're telling Connor that he's going to the Sing Street school, and he reads either the dad. I think the dad reads the Latin quote or something like that, and Brandon, the Jack Rayner character, is like, "What does that mean? Let's rape our students." So I thought that was funny.
Let's be a man.
Which I'm surprised that I have limited knowledge of how the school system works in Ireland, but to go from a private school to a boys' Christian school, I mean, that must be free then, right? I mean, if you're trying to save money, or maybe it's just cheaper.
Is that their version of public school? I
don't know. Especially in the 80s. I mean, like I said, I have limited knowledge, so who knows?
Well, the other thing is some of that, it was harder to relate to because I never went to, I know you went to an all boys school
for high school, yes,
and it was Catholic. It was a Catholic, yeah. So my girlfriend went to a Catholic school up until high school, but I never went. I've always been in the public school system, so I've never kind of known that experience.
Sure.
So I feel like that's a little bit more relatable to someone like you or anyone who goes to an all something school or religious school. In
an all boys school, there's definitely you have this brotherhood. You're what's eliminated out of the school experience is just the anxiety of being in school with girls and just kind of not getting embarrassed, not, just in general, just kind of just being with the opposite sex, which, I don't care how cool teenagers think they are when they're in a room with the opposite sex and they're teenagers, they're nervous. They don't know how to, they don't know how to act or behave. So in the school I went to, it was just basically just about hanging out and, obviously doing the schoolwork and stuff like that. But it was more of just kind of just hanging out and getting stuff done. I played basketball, so it was a lot of sports stuff. When I was in the honor society too, so I had to do a lot of stuff there.
Nerd, jock nerd.
I was sixth in my class senior year. Yeah, I know. Shut up, Butler. Very proud of that. Why couldn't I get fifth? All right, so I'm curious if you didn't like anything. There's two. I want to get into why we think it was forgotten, which is pretty easy. But is there anything that jumped out that you kind of were really down on?
I really thought obviously it's a movie, so you don't have a lot of time.
It is a movie
to go over every character. But I thought they didn't maybe go into enough of the other bandmates. They just kind of found the other two, or the other three rather.
Yeah.
So the keyboardist, the bassist, and the
keyboardist,
drummer,
his name was Ngig?
Ngig, or something like that.
Ngig. But he they weren't looking for him. They were looking for somebody else. And because they were saying they asked for somebody else, didn't they? And she was the mother was like, no, he lives down the. Oh,
I thought she was being sarcastic.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
Oh,
how many black people do you think live in Ireland? Right?
Oh, that's right. Okay, then. All right, never mind then.
And then they're like, does he play music? Why don't you go ask him?
I love the guy. Of course, the kid's like, of course he plays. Of course he plays music. Yeah. And then he's like, I could, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And then he's playing the keyboard. And then the other two kids are just looking for a drummer and a bassist. That's us. Let's go. And they just take the paper. They just crumple it up like they've already found it.
Well, again, I think that goes to, kids, the tweens, teenagers, they want to do something. We're going to do it. I see it on my 10-year-old when she wants to draw and she's constantly on her phone. And I'm like, aren't you drawing? And she's like, I am. And all she has are apps on her. And she doesn't have a phone. She has an iPod. All she has are apps and all she's doing is drawing on her apps and stuff like that. So you want to do it, you just do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, I mean, that I could use a little bit more of that. The relationship with the other guy, Raphina's other guy.
Well, they don't really go into that too much, yeah.
Ethan or whatever his name is, I think.
The guy that takes her to London but then lied about it.
It doesn't end up taking her to London. Goes to
she leaves her at a
motel.
B&B. Yeah. So he basically just wanted to get with her.
Yeah. Which is like, it's kind of, you see it coming and it's just kind of like added on there. It's like, you could have had the same thing with her just wanting to have that dream. And that was what was getting in the way of the two of them. I don't know why they needed that guy to be that extra step.
And she wasn't in school, and she was only a year older than Connor.
She was 16. I think she had dropped out of school. Although I think if you're in an all-girls boarding house, they still make you go to school.
Yeah,
I imagine.
But again, that might go to my limited knowledge of what
Ireland.
Goes. Yeah. I just
at that point, maybe you're old enough to be able to make your own decision. At that point,
maybe you can leave school at that. It's not. Okay, maybe. When she drops the molestation bomb on him as they're walking, when she talks about her father. You didn't catch that? Maybe I missed. Okay, so she's talking about how her mother was in and out of psych units, psych wards,
yes.
And then she got dressed up one night. This is at the pier. She got dressed up one night, and her father said, "No, why don't you stay home with me?" And then after he was finished, she didn't understand that because her mother was always prettier than her. Like she says that.
Oh, I might have missed that.
Oh, really? Because I took that as to mean like her father molested her.
Oh, and
I was like, oh my God. And she does it so matter of fact. So just kind of like, yeah. And he's just like staring at her like, oh shit. Like, well, what am I supposed to, like, it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? And he just obviously instantly feels for her. And I think that just strengthens his kind of love for her.
Right.
But I mean, because you didn't catch that now, I'm wondering if I caught that wrong.
I didn't catch that. I'd have to go back and watch that scene. But I mean,
I'm wondering who maybe I just misread that.
That does make sense because earlier when she talks about her parents, she is pretty happy that her dad is dead. So
that's true. That must be what it was.
That makes a lot more sense. That kind of, because just your dad being a drunk and getting killed, it's like, well, I mean, what else adds to that? Like you're drunk, okay, but what did you do when you're drunk? And that makes sense now,
right? And I like their awkward moment on the island when they're kissing, and he's gonna kiss her again.
Oh, I love that, and she's got the crackers, and she's like, nope, not yet. I thought that was really realistic.
And I really love her when she jumps into the water, and he's like, "You're crazy. Why'd you do that?" And she says, "You never do anything by half. You can never do anything by half."
And that's when he finally kisses her.
Right, exactly, for the first time. Yes,
yep,
absolutely. But also, that's great. That's great. What's the word I'm looking for? Advice.
Advice. It is great advice. I also really like, and I mean, it kind of like sucks because like it was a crappy thing to say, but when she's sitting there after she comes back from not being able to go to London from that B&B, and she's like, "This is my life now, working at McDonald's, sitting here with a 15-year-old schoolboy," and he gets all upset.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, I gotta go, I'm doing another thing. And then she instantly snaps back and like, I don't want to lose my only friend. Well, like, why did I say that? She goes, "Oh really? What's it about?" And he's like, "I'm not telling you now."
Yeah, which is great because he's just like, that's not what he is. He and almost like he's ticked off at her because he's like, haven't you been paying attention to what I've been doing?
Yeah,
it's not. I'm not screwing around.
And that's I really like. I thought that was really good.
Yeah,
and really well done. I really like the scene when they're in the auditorium rehearsing for their 1950s Back to the Future style music video.
Yep.
And he asked all the kids, "Have you guys seen Back to the Future?" And none of them have seen Back to the Future.
And they're the worst snappers in history.
Like you just snap your fingers and dance. Is that only in the United States?
Apparently.
Did the 1950s not happen in Ireland? Because I'm pretty sure the 1950s still happened in Ireland.
Snapping is a real issue in Ireland.
Oh my God.
They were like
I've got
full body
no
snapping.
rhythm, and like I can do better than that.
They're like full body snapping. If you could see me now, I was just demonstrating what the snapping was all
awful.
About.
I also didn't. I don't know if I liked. Did you like when they go to how the music video was supposed to be, like his dream version of the music video
at the end?
When they're snapping, then he just sings anyway because Raphina doesn't show up, and it shows you what his music video.
Yeah, I did. You didn't like that?
I liked the concept. I liked what it looked like, and I thought it was funny. But I just don't know if I liked its placement in the film when all of the other music videos have been actually showing you their music videos. and this one just shows you what their perfect version would have been.
What he
did,
envisions.
Yeah, instead of what did it actually come.
Well, it's the culmination of you're leading up to that. So you're leading up to almost like the big dance number, the big video at the end.
And instead you get this fake video, but like, what did his real video? He still made his real video.
No, well, they said let's shoot it.
Let's just shoot it. So what did that come out?
Oh, I got you.
So maybe I would have
see.
liked that
I
better
see.
if we still got to see the real thing, but all of a sudden showing us the stream version of a music video when the rest of the time you've showed us the nitty-gritty, like them putting the effort into making these cute little, music videos that took a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And now you're showing me this made up dream version.
You're showing you're seeing what he wishes would be true. His parents together, his brother a hero, his brother doing well, and
his priest.
The priest. I couldn't stop laughing when he does the cartwheel, and then he looks up and he blesses him, and he's like thumbs up. I'm like, oh, perfect. Yeah, I couldn't stop laughing. Like one of the notes I have here is that even though yes, it deals with some subject matter that's tough, and there's not every moment is happy, but
right
throughout the movie you just watch with a smile on your face. The music and everything, and all the just them getting together, them performing the music, them putting the music videos together. It's just kind of like, yeah, all right.
It's a very uplifting film.
Sure.
It's not like it's a drama and it's got a lot of like heavy stuff that this kid is dealing with, but he deals with it in a really positive, good way.
Yeah.
It's not often seen in films, especially Indian films.
It's not often seen in any film these days. You're talking about uplifting tales of like teen angst and stuff like that. It's always like super solemn or super depressing, especially if you want to be an indie. I feel like you feel like you might have the need to make it as sad and depressing because it makes your picture seem deeper than it really is. People think that if you have a happy ending in your movie, you are a sellout or you are not you're disingenuous, right? And that's bullshit because it's all how you look at life.
Yep,
it's all how you look at your stories. And I'm sorry, but if granted, there's a difference between melodrama and kind of like sugary sweetness of a movie.
Yes,
but in terms of just this movie, Sing Street, is a movie that he's dealing with a lot of crap, and he says it in the movie where he's just like, I choose not to let this. I don't care. I'm at school with a bunch of rapists and people who beat but I choose not to do that. I choose to do what I want to do and to make my way and to not let that stuff get me down.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like that's not, everyone on social media always talks about like, we need more of this in our life. We need more of this in our life. I just want happy puppy videos because I want to be happy. It's like, look around. There are stories that do this.
Yep.
Look at your life and just look at the good things in life. It's so, I hear what you're saying and I agree. Like, like a movie like this, like comparing his movies. So like a movie like Once.
Right.
Cause let's get into, that is probably a good, what you're talking about is probably a good, one of the reasons why this was probably forgotten was that it was somewhat uplifting, somewhat happy, even though some would argue that they're going to die on the English Channel, but
knock into that ferry boat. Although I do like the symbolism at the end. Did you notice he's riding that wake again? He's riding that jet stream.
Yes.
So that's that symbolism at the end is like, all right, he's back to riding another jet stream.
That could be good or bad though.
Well, that he's safe in the jet stream. He was before with his brother, so maybe that jet stream will keep him safe again.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like that. So I wrote that note then. I was like, back in the jet stream.
But that could be why it's forgotten. Just kind of like people really would want something different. Maybe
people love Once, and Once is
sad.
Is sad.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, this is. I can see why he would maybe the director, John Carney.
Yes,
John Carney would want to follow up with this film because it's kind of the opposite of Once. This isn't a follow-up to Once because he did Begin Again. Right.
No.
Is Begin Again a musical though?
It is. Begin Again.
Okay.
Begin Again is about Keira Knightley. She's the girlfriend of Adam Levine. Oh, he's not Adam Levine in the movie. But, and so like she helps him. She writes songs for him. She helps him. He's becoming a star. And then he's going on tour and he ends up cheating on her. And she finds out, so they break up, and she wants nothing to do with him, and her life's in whatever. She starts doing music, and she meets Mark Ruffalo. Is it Ruffalo or Ruffalo? It's Ruffalo, right? Yeah. And he's a producer, but he's a producer that wants honest, and he doesn't want to sell out. He's part of a label, so he leaves the label. He's just kind of like on his way out, and he's on the outs with his wife. He's lost. They're not divorced, but they've lost Like they've lost their way.
Okay.
And he meets Keira Knightley and he wants to produce her music. He wants to do an album with her and nobody will do it. So he's like, screw it. Let's do it together. So he basically, they do an album, but they do music videos for each song. And so they're doing it in the streets of New York. They're running around and just doing music videos.
Right.
And basically he discovers what he loves about music. He discovers, his wife and him find their way back to each other, that kind of thing. It's kind of, it's an uplifting movie and it's fun. And like, it's, I like it a lot. So yeah, so that's what Beginning is. Beginning End is very similar to Sing Street rather than Once.
Right. It seems like the adult version of Sing Street.
A little bit
in your description.
No, I hear you.
All right. So
I could be butchering that.
Take back what I say.
No. I think you're right. No, it doesn't matter to follow up. It's still, it is.
Right.
It's not, people like the dour note of Once. They the sadness.
I feel like the sadness is what people like, other than the main song in Once.
Mm-hmm.
The sadness is, I think, what people kind of remember and glommed onto when that first came out.
Well, even that song in Once, that song is so good, them together, that because they'll never be together again, they'll never make that music again.
The whole movie is very sad. Although I do really like Glenn Hansard. A lot of his music is sad.
Yeah, it's very, well, whatever.
But it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I feel like, whereas that would maybe be like a sad story, this is kind of an uplifting.
Yeah.
And you're right. Maybe that is why it's forgotten.
I think that's part of it. I think part of it's an indie. It's a $4 million movie. It's an Irish film. It's a foreign film technically. So it only opened on its biggest screen count was 525 screens in the middle of May, when that's not where this movie should be. This movie should be it should be around Oscar time. It only got one. It got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Picture, comedy or musical, which
that's good.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
But this is a movie that you want to see in the fall. This is a movie you want to see, closer towards December or something like that.
True.
So it's not really a summer film.
I'm wondering because it also reminded me a little bit of course now it's not going to, Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Okay.
In terms of, just these awkward kids or find other classmates who kind of bring out your weirdness, and your weirdness is good. And that film, I feel, did well.
Well, that film has more, that movie, the Perks of Being a Wallflower has more of there's more of an antagonist in that, in terms of the idea that you're weird and you don't fit. And that, you know what I mean? Like, it deals with that a little bit more than Sing Street does. Sing Street isn't just about the music, and it's just about them finding their way.
It's also got stars in Perks of Being a Wallflower too.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
The names probably don't hurt, especially, names like Emma Watson. This is probably Ezra Miller's like first thing though. So
yeah,
or one of them.
Do you like, let me ask you a question, because this is off the topic of Sing Street, but because you brought up a movie. So do you like when big name actors do indie films, or do you prefer indie films with good actors, but indie actors that you don't know? Like, do you think there's more? Do you think it's a bit more, to use a word I already used this podcast, disingenuous when a bigger named actor does something smaller than the other way? When you discover almost somebody, like, not only is this movie good, but wow, these people are really good, and they're not. Because you don't, you know what I mean?
I like it when you have an independent film and your star isn't a big name actor, but you have a big name actor in the film.
Okay.
So they are there to get that film funded, and they are there to showcase this new talent that otherwise wouldn't be showcased. Showcase that writer director, sure, but also showcase all the new talent you could be. You can be the father character, the cousin character, the friend, but you want to lift up this film and these new people, because Hollywood needs more new blood, and they don't like that. They don't do it. They never do it.
Well, because they don't know it.
They rarely do it. They're afraid of it, and more so now than
they don't know how to make money off of it.
Yes, so more so now than ever, I think that's an issue. Not that I mind independent movies that use big name stars as their main characters, but you're watching it for them. And their name overshadows the rest.
They bring the baggage of their life, whether they're a big time celebrity or just the baggage of other roles to this role. And you're like, oh, look, it's so and so doing something indie. Oh, how much did he do this for? Like, he doesn't need the money, but like somebody who's in the movie, who's getting paid scale, maybe not even scale, who doesn't own a home, doesn't have, doesn't have an agent,
Yep.
but he's still up there performing the hell out of what you're seeing, whatever movie you're watching, performing, I think it's a little bit more, you almost like, you feel like you're one of them. You feel like, they're doing it well, I can do it, or maybe to that respect.
I feel like that affects people like us who that's what we want to do as well. And we can see ourselves up there.
I mean, I've always said I just want to see a great story. That's it. I don't care who's in it. I don't care if it's a good story. It's a good story. But like just because there's named actors in it, if it's not a good story, then I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's awesome.
True. I mean, I do like also when a big name actor might do their own film.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to make my own independent.
Okay.
In that case, I do like it. If Chris Evans, who I can see him doing a lot more stuff like that now, goes out and goes, I'm going to make this film because I want to make it. And he becomes maybe, I can see him starting to direct, but I could definitely see him producing and maybe writing and starring in his own stuff. I think that's interesting.
That's fine.
Be
Yeah.
like, now that I've made it, I want to make these films. As long as he has people that he can help lift up as well, then that's fine.
I get that. That makes sense. I'm just curious if there was a distinction for you between those two, an indie with a big star or just an indie.
Because an indie with a big star is no longer an indie, whether it has a lot of budget or not.
Well, you already have the blueprint of what happens when, like in the 90s, early 90s, independent cinema was big. Independent productions were huge. You had, movies like, Kevin Smith coming out. You had Richard Linklater. You had all these like big name. They're big name now.
Right.
Back then they weren't.
Yeah.
And they all these like mini production companies were out there and they all got bought up. They all got bought up by the big guys and all that 90s indie stuff got co-opted into
corporate studio movies. Yeah.
And they just became less and less interesting.
It's also kind of the end of the mid-budget film though.
I think hopefully it's making a comeback, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, you can make you're getting less funded indie films in terms of like under $5 million budgets.
You're getting under 10 to 5.
You're getting people
over 60s.
Right. Well, you're getting people that are making that on their own, and then studios will buy them. But
yes,
they're not giving money for that. Like in terms of like the production, they're like, oh yeah, go make the movie. If we like it, we'll buy it. Like that's what you're getting.
Yeah,
that's what the festival season is all about. Whoring yourself out there for studios.
You do it.
No, I don't. When did I do that?
Yeah, you put your scripts out there.
Oh yeah, but that's I've kind of had a shift in thinking on that.
I can tell.
But I hear you. No, I hear you. So yeah. So if you're looking for a musical, no, I like this movie and I think people should watch it.
It's a very good uplifting movie. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, I thought I'd like it, but
this will probably be on the low end of views for people for our podcast because they've probably never even heard of it. But that's what this podcast is about: forgotten films.
It's about forgotten films.
And you found this where on Prime?
I found this on Amazon Prime through, I guess, IMDb has IMDb TV now.
Mm-hmm.
So some of they have movies up there that you do have 2 ads in between. There are commercial breaks with 2 ads in between each one, but it's free. And I'm interested to see how much other stuff they have on there because I believe that's new. I've never seen that before.
I mean, it's only 3 years old, this movie. Well, 4 because we'll be in 2020, but it's not old. So, I mean,
no, it's not old.
Yeah. So it should still be available.
Yeah. And it's still available for rent everywhere. Anywhere you go, you can rent it. You can rent it on any service. And even though, I mean, if you're thinking, oh, I don't want to watch a movie that's, 4 years old already, blah, blah, blah. It does have a timeless feel because it's filmed now, but it takes place in the 80s. So
I'm listening.
It doesn't really have, and even then, its 80s feel isn't necessarily like they don't throw the 80s out. They don't throw up 80s on you other than like the music.
No, you just know you're in the 80s.
You just know you're in the 80s, but it doesn't like show, oh, and here's an old car. And remember this old thing?
Yeah, it's not like Pepsi. Stranger Things 80s where you're like, oh man, they've got those.
Yeah,
oh, they're just as Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Oh, 80s. Yeah, I know. Here.
This is the music of the 80s. It could take place in any time period. And he mentions Back to the Future and no one knows what it is.
Yeah, well,
that's about the only big
this
stuff.
movie is almost like it was shot in the 80s. Like, because it's indie, like it's almost like it could have been a movie shot back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all real sets. It's a house and there aren't that many locations either, which is nice.
Right. No, it's good.
Yeah.
I enjoy it quite a bit. And that's why we picked it. Or I picked it. Or you picked it. I picked it.
You picked it.
Right.
You picked it. I was interested because you said it was the same guy who did Once.
Right.
And I really liked
Excellent.
Once.
So check it out. Sing Street.
Yeah.
Now next week is a movie that I put on the list that you wanted to do because you had never seen it.
I also didn't know that it was kind of a prequel.
Ridiculous to what was the name of the movie? what's the name of the Will Smith movie?
Oh, Enemy of the State.
Enemy of the State. Right. So Butler. So next week, we are done talking about Sing Street. So next week we are going to return with a movie that Butler didn't know existed, and that is is it 1974? It's either 73 or 74. I think it's 74. But anyways, the Francis Ford Coppola movie, The Conversation, starring Gene Hackman, who Butler did not know is a kind of It's not technically a prequel to Enemy of the State.
But he just happens to be the same character.
But the Gene Hackman character from Enemy of the State is supposed to be the character from The Conversation. Yes. The Conversation. Did you ever see a movie Blowout? That's what Travolta, where he's a sound engineer. You never heard that? Oh man. Okay, so we're doing The Conversation next week, but it's very similar to a movie called Blowout, where Travolta is getting sounds. He's a sound technician for a film, and he's just out getting sound. That's all he's doing. He's like, just getting sound for like B-roll stuff, just to kind of and he hears a gunshot, and he gets involved in this like conspiracy.
Yeah.
So that's another one we should do, which I'll put on the list.
Interesting. All right.
Brian De Palma.
Okay.
So yeah, but next week we're doing The Conversation. I have seen it. It's awesome. I love this movie, and I hope Butler loves it as well. And
we'll see.
Yes. Well, yeah. So I don't know
if I can find it.
I might own it, but I don't know.
Okay.
But anyways, I guess you got anything else to add? As I knock into my mic, you got anything else to add?
I got nothing else to add.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. If you want to follow us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, we're under the Forgotten Cinema name. We're also at ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. Feel free to reach us out at ForgottenCinemaPod@gmail.com or our contact page on the webpage. We do take suggestions. We do, we do have a list we already have our list broken down for our next season. But, if you make a suggestion, we are willing to bump stuff. So
That's right.
Absolutely. So we're okay with that, because we want to do stuff that you guys want to hear us talk about. And, so it's all about you, the fans.
And I guess I would add, if you'd like, you can also pop over to ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com and go to our store page. And
is that active now?
It will be. Absolutely.
Oh, we're selling stuff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Feel free to drop on by our store page. You can pick up T-shirts, stickers, hats, jackets, and
leggings.
Even a pair of leggings if you'd like.
Apparently, because somebody's fiance wanted leggings.
And she got them.
Merry Christmas. So thanks for listening, guys. I'm Mike Field.
Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.